KP classes dedicated to excellence.
So hello everyone and welcome to today's introductory session for the crash course of GATE 2026 examination. As you probably know, I am Arad Chandar. In today's session, this will be a short session, approximately say around 30 minutes or 45 minutes long, in which we will look into the introduction for this particular examination, the crash course for GATE 2026, and we'll have a discussion on any doubts if you have any towards the end. So let me first take you through the overview of today's session, what all we will be discussing. We'll have a look into the official result. So basically every year after the GATE result, the GATE conducting institute will release a statistical report of the performance of students of that year. And we have the statistical report of GATE 2025 result, using which we'll have a look at some important pointers. What is the distribution of marks and what has been the cutoff. We'll have a brief discussion on the result of last year, so that this will enable us to set a target. What are we basically targeting in the upcoming exam? So that is very important for any competitive exam. And then we'll look into the syllabus, the official syllabus. Like if you are aware, the official syllabus for GATE 2026 has been released, and there is no change in the syllabus again this year too. So generally GATE authorities change or make modifications to the syllabus on an average once every 10 to 15 years. So the last time the syllabus was updated was in 2021. So it is highly unlikely that it will be updated very soon. And this year the syllabus has been the same. So however, because you are preparing for the examination, assuming that you're preparing it for the first time, I will be taking you through the syllabus and then the past paper analysis. Now this will give you some insights for the preparation, for the upcoming preparation, because see, in the crash course we don't you have a limited amount of time and you have vast content and a vast syllabus to target. So it is very important to understand what has been the pattern in recent past. However, there is no standard weightage for any subject, but still we'll go through the paper analysis to get a broad idea on the pattern of the examination, of how the paper is expected to be in general. And then we'll look into some resources, how you can prepare for this examination, and how our crash course will help you clear this examination. And towards the end, if you have any questions, we will have a discussion on your queries and I'll take up your questions. So that's the overview of this session. Let me right away first begin with the exam result analysis of last year. First and foremost, cutoff. Now, any aspirant preparing for GATE examination, one basic question they have is how much to score. So let me try to simplify that question for you, or the answer for that question for you. Firstly, the cutoff, if you want to qualify the examination, the 2025 cutoff for general category I'm telling you. So accordingly for reserved category, there would be some say reduction in the cutoff score. However, for the general category, it was 40 marks in 2025, the cutoff score. In 2024, it was 41.5 and so on. You can see the cutoff for the last 6 years over here. If you look into the minimum cutoff of last 6 years, it has been 33.7 marks. And if you look at the maximum cutoff, what has been the maximum extent to which it has gone, it was 41.5 marks in 2024. So the cutoff can range anywhere between 30 to 40 on an average, you can say, in broad numbers. This year it was 40 marks, or so in 2025 GATE paper the cutoff was 40 marks. Now what does the cutoff depend on? It depends on the average performance of all the candidates. It depends on the average score. It depends, basically in simple terms, it depends on the difficulty level of the paper and how everyone is performing relative to one another. So that's what cutoff mainly depends on. As far as the passing percentage, you can say, or qualifying percentage, to understand how difficult is this examination, the qualifying percentage was around 30% this year, 2025. Basically a total of around 8,500 candidates appeared at that's the number similar every year. So approximately around 10 to 11,000 students apply for GATE architecture paper generally every year, and around say around 9 to 9, so around 8,500 to 9,500 on an average, you can say around 9,000 students write the examination every year. So in 2025, 8,500 students appeared for the test, of which 2,837 students qualified the examination. The percentage of students qualifying the exam was only 33%, so only one third. So if basically out of every three students, only one student is qualifying the examination in general, that has been the passing or qualifying percentage 2020. This is actually a very good qualifying percentage, because If you look into the year before that, in GATE 2024, the qualifying percentage was much less. It was 22% only. Out of 100 students, only 22 students, 100 students who have appeared the exam, only 22 qualified. So basically the qualifying percentage ranges from say 20 to 30% in general. So it is not very easy, but at the same time it is not that difficult too, because you still have uh, it's sufficient time to cover the entire syllabus, but you'll need to have a focused preparation for this remaining duration of time. Only then it is possible to get a very good rank. Now I would personally say just qualifying the examination is not that difficult. If you're just targeting for 40, so this cutoff I've just given it to you to help to tell you that it is not difficult to qualify the exam, but that should not be your target, because just qualifying will not get you into the top colleges like IITs and so. So if you're targeting for the best, you have to be among top 100 ranks ideally. So for that understanding of rank in general, or what is it you can expect for that, let us look into the marks distribution as per 2025 result. Only one student who happened to be our student Jayant, who got 83 out of 100 marks. So he got the first rank in 2025. So Jayant scored, one candidate scored 80 plus marks, and then 70 to 80 marks, in that range there were 12 students in total. So basically anyone scoring 30 plus, or sorry, anyone scoring 70 plus had a rank below 13. So it was up to rank say less than 15 rank, basically a very good rank you can say. Wherein you can get into almost any college which you want, be it geoinformatics at IIT Bombay, or be it IIT Roorkee MArc course. So any course of your interest you can easily get if you're having a rank below 20 for sure. So 70 plus, rank was around 13 marks. Rank was around 13. Then if you had a score in the range of 60 to 69, the rank was probably below 100 for sure. So there were 79 such candidates. Then so as you move further, so you see major distribution, and again 40 is the cutoff score for the general category. So anyone scoring less than 40 did not qualify the examination unless they are not from general category. So basically it is 40 plus for qualification, and then you can see the marks distribution to have a double digit rank. As per 2025 result, it was 60 plus, but it changes every year. So what should you target now? What is your, if you are targeting for the best college, and if you ask me how much should I get in the examination, ultimately out of 100 you should target for around 70 marks. That should be sufficient to get you into the best colleges in general. So if you're targeting for 70 plus, now incidentally in 2025 paper, if you had a score 70 plus, then you had a very good rank, probably less than 15 rank. But sometimes it can be slightly higher also, up to 25 30 rank. But if you're targeting for 70 plus, and if you are actually getting 70 plus, you can be assured that whatever the difficulty level, even if the paper is very easy, you will still have a good rank of around not more than 40 for sure. So that can get you into good colleges easily. So that should be your target score. Now it depends on what your college of target is also, so it depends on that as well, but in general we recommend students to have a target of 70 plus. Now when I say set up a target of 70 plus, am I asking you to leave some subjects? No. Am I asking you to count your marks during the exam when you sit in that examination hall in the month of February, next upcoming February, when you're writing the GATE exam? Should you count how much you're scoring and see if you're getting 70 plus or not? Absolutely no. That you should not waste even 1 second of time in the examination. Your focus should be only on solving questions. But this particular number is just for your personal target, that it is not very difficult. So scoring 70% is not that difficult in any exam. So stay confident, and at the same time don't be complacent and don't think okay it's very easy, because like I said, one out of every three students only qualify the examination. I'm just talking about qualification here, and we are targeting for a very good rank. So there is a lot of uh, 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 difference involved there, so be careful on that front. So, where to begin with? Now, I would say at the stage where you are in today's class, by the end of today's session, you will have a thorough understanding of the syllabus, you will have a thorough understanding of the exam pattern, the number of questions, the subjects you are going to study, what is the preparation methodology, the pattern which you need to follow. All these points will be clear for you. However, I would say the first step which you can begin with, probably will end the session at around say before 8:30 for sure. So once you're done with this session, I would recommend you strongly to look into the success stories of past people, past aspirants who have cleared the examination, who were exactly where you are right now. So if you check out our YouTube channel, you can just search for KP Gate classes. You'll find a lot of playlists of every year's GATE results. Even 2025, we had an outstanding result where we had 10 students in top 20 ranks, and even the year before that. So you can find out the testimonials or basically the experience. Now, in all these videos, the aspirants, they talk about their experience, their journey of preparation, where did they begin, how much time did they spend, what were the difficult subjects for them. And because it is a mix of everything, so you will find whichever level you are at. Let us say you're in fourth year of your college, you will find from the good, you will find students, or you'll find stories where the student is from fourth year of architecture. There are people who have prepared along with their job. There are students who have completed their BR probably 4 or 5 years ago and have been working for 5 years. So you'll have at least one story to relate to at the place where you are. So I would say that is the best way to begin your preparation. So take out some time. Again, you need not waste a lot of time in that. It will just take you probably around say 1 hour, 2 hours, even if you look into the success stories, because these are very short interactions where they talk about this. So that would be, I think, the best way to prepare or start to get to know basically how people had achieved success in the past. That will not only inspire you but also will give you an idea that how they have achieved it, so that you can prepare or can start your preparation methodology in the similar manner. Now let us talk about some exam specific things. What are we getting into? What is the what so I'm sure you know the GATE examination is a 3-hour examination. Unlike other procurement tests and all, this is a 3-hour exam in which you need to solve. So basically, it is a 100 marks exam in which you need to solve a total of 65 questions only. So just 65 questions, 3 hours of time. So it is approximately less than 3 minutes for every question. So it's like around two point something, 2.5 minutes or more than that for every question you have. So it is not an exam which is time based. Some examinations, like for example the requirement exams for government jobs and all, those exams generally will have 1 minute per question. So you'll have around 2 hours with 120 or 100 plus questions generally. So but GATE is not such a, it's not an exam where time, obviously time is of essence, because there are lengthy numericals involved too in some instances, but it is an exam where you have conceptual questions. So most of the questions are concept and foundational based. So understanding the concepts, understanding both numerical and theoretical concepts is very important in the GATE examination. So let us talk about the exam pattern in terms of what are the sections you have. So basically in the examination you will have a total of 4 sections. General aptitude part will have a fixed number of 10 questions, and all these 10 questions will be multiple choice questions, MCQ questions, and the weightage of these 10 questions will be 15 marks. Now this is fixed every year, and general aptitude will include quantitative aptitude, it will include logical reasoning, it will include verbal ability as well. So it includes these and also diagrammatic reasoning. So basically there are 4 parts within general aptitude: quant, English, the reasoning, and also visual aptitude, visual ability, basically diagram based questions. So all these 4 parts together, you will have 10 questions with a weightage of 15 marks in the general aptitude portion. Now other than that, part A is basically called as common part. It is common part because everyone, irrespective of which part you are attempting, I'm sure all of you have completed the application for the GATE examination. The last date to apply without late fee is already completed, and uh, I hope you have done that, and in the process of application they'll not ask you which part are you going to attempt, because the selection of part B1 and B2 is made during the examination. You need not select it while you're applying. I hope you observed that. So common part is basically common for everyone, be it so even if you're attempting the architecture part or the planning part, this common portion will have a total of 39 questions with a total weightage of 60 marks. So maximum weightage is for the common part of the syllabus itself, and even the content and the number of topics, majority of them are in the common part itself, where you will have 39 questions, and these 39 questions will be a combination of multiple choice questions where one option out of four options will be correct, multiple select questions where one or two or three or four options can be correct. There will be A, B, C, D, four options, but multiple answers can be correct, one or two or three or all the four. That is multiple select type questions and numerical answer type. These are the three types of questions. Numerical answer type is where you have no options. You'll need to type your numerical value as an answer into the input box. And of these three types of questions, remember, negative marking is only for multiple choice questions. This is the only portion. You'll be shocked to know there have been candidates, there have been people who attempted gate paper who scored final score in negative also. If you see the marks distribution, now you might see there are 9 students who got less than 0 marks also in the gate paper 2025. How is it possible to get less than 0? Because there is negative marking. If you attempt an incorrect answer, you will lose 1/3 of the marks. So if it is a 1 mark question and you do a mistake in it, you will lose 0.33 marks. If it's a 2 marks question, you do a mistake in it, you will lose 0.67 marks in it. And this negative marking is only in multiple choice questions. There is no negative marking in multiple select or NAT question. Let me tell you, in the introduction class in the beginning itself, I always recommend students who attempt the gate examination, when you come out of the examination hall on the day of the exam, you should be in a state, you should ensure that you did not leave even one MSQ question or one NAT question. So I'm not asking you to do guesswork in all the questions. You have to give your best. But even if you don't know an answer, you can take an educated guess, you can take a calculated risk in the multiple select question, because there is no negative marking there. That is key to boost up your score in the exam. So that's about the common part, 60 marks of weightage, the maximum weightage. Then coming to B1 and B2, B1 is basically the architecture part. B2 is planning part. So based on your area of interest, based on your strong areas, you can select whichever you feel you can score better. Both have pros and cons. Both selecting, if you ask me, sir, which is easier, should I select architecture or planning? There are pros and cons in both. There's no outright answer that select this and you'll do well. There is no such answer, because had that been the answer, I would have told you leave this and prepare for this. That's not the answer. uh, One, it will depend on your personal level which areas you're good at. Secondly, even in terms of selection, let us say you're equally interested in both architecture and planning part, and you're equally good in both the topics, then which part to select in the preparation time? I would say there are pros and cons in both. Like if you're selecting planning part, the number of subjects can come down. Like you can as per the official syllabus, you can leave history, you can leave say subjects like lighting, acoustics, you can leave out subject like say structures, which are lengthy and large subjects with a lot of numerical content. But uh, at the same time, in the planning part, you have advanced questions from PTM and transportation. Planning technique management is a very vast subject, and you have to do that in detail, because uh, out of 25 marks which you have for part B, that is planning part, 10 marks were directly from one subject of PTM in the planning part. So such concentrated weightage, you don't see that in the architecture part generally. So there are pros and cons in both, basically, in simple terms. As far as the number of questions, whichever part you select, be it architecture or planning part, you'll need to answer 16 questions, the weightage of which will be 25 marks. So I hope you understand the overall weightage now. 15 marks for general aptitude, 60 marks for the common part, and 25 marks for part B based on your selection, architecture or planning. Now which part to select, that depends on which area you are good at and which part is easier for you in the examination. Based on that, you can make your selection. Generally, in general, the difficulty level has been always same for architecture and planning part. The number of questions also has been in terms of number of numericals, number of MSQs has been generally same. 2025, one numerical was higher in number in the architecture part. So in the planning part, there were only three numericals, 2 marks numericals. In the architecture part, there were four numericals. So the number of numericals was different in 2025, but all the years before that, it was always same. That's about the overall exam pattern, the time duration, and the weightage of the sections which you have. Just give me a second. Okay, so looking into the exam syllabus now, I told you about the pattern and the weightage. As far as the exam syllabus, like I told you already, general aptitude, you have a total of four parts, four sections within that. Verbal ability, which is basic English grammar and basic understanding of English vocabulary and comprehension, obviously. Then you have quantitative aptitude, which includes basics of data interpretation, basic mathematics, simple math, including understanding of ratio, percentages, power, exponent, logarithm, PNC, permutation, combination, series, mensuration, geometry, elementary statistics and probability. So basically everything up, not more than say 10, generally 10 standard, and some questions probably higher than that, but very simple math is included in the examination. Then you have analytical aptitude, which basically is reasoning part, where you have logic, deduction and analogy based questions, where you also have numerical relations and reasoning. Lastly, you have the diagrammatic or basically spatial reasoning, which is based on visual reasoning part, wherein you have questions based on scaling, rotation, mirroring, assembling, grouping of paper, folding, unfolding, cutting and patterns. All these basically relate to spatial understanding or spatial reasoning and visual ability based questions. So all these parts together, whichever part might have a higher or lower weightage in terms of the core subjects, general aptitude always will have a fixed number of 10 questions with a fixed weightage of 15 marks. Doing well in this part is very important in the examination. If I always give you, I'm sure you might have heard about it somewhere, but I give this example whenever I talk to students, that I, in my personal experience, have written GATE twice. The first attempt of mine, I got 24 rank in the All India GATE rank 24. I scored 15 on 15 in general aptitude, and that was the main reason for my good rank in the first attempt. In second attempt, I got first rank, and even in my second attempt, I scored 15 on 15 in the general aptitude, and that was a huge advantage. So generally, if you are able to do well in the general app, and it's not difficult, let me tell you, even with zero preparation, if you randomly pick up a past gate paper and solve the general aptitude questions, out of 15 marks without any preparation, you will even if you're just spending some time and reading the questions carefully and trying to attempt, you will easily score 8 marks or more than that without any preparation also. Say 6 to 8 marks you can right away score without preparation too. So it's not that difficult, but you need to, if you're putting in the required efforts, you can easily score 15 on 15. Doing well in general aptitude, remember, is very important. How can you do that? Let me also talk about that. So basically, keep this in mind. If you're starting your preparation right now, from now till the exam, till the end of your preparation, every day spend at least 15-20 minutes on this subject, general aptitude, in the classes. If you're enrolling into the classes, obviously general aptitude will be covered in the lectures also for you, but from your end, irrespective of classes, if you're dedicatedly spending 15 to 20 minutes of time on daily basis for solving questions, you don't have any limit on the number of questions for general aptitude. You can easily find it everywhere on the internet. You can get access to the past gate papers, not only past gate architecture papers. You can take up any past gate paper, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, because the general aptitude part is common for everyone. The syllabus, the level of questions is everything same for all the papers. So you can take up any random gate paper from past years, solve the past papers. So this practice, if you're doing it on daily basis, it will build up your confidence in the subject, which is very important. uh, you might not answer all the questions right away in the first go, but it will boost up your confidence. You can learn from what you are basically solving. So that's the general aptitude part. Other than that, as per the official syllabus, in the common part you have a total of 7 sections, and there are 3 sections in the architecture part, 3 sections in the planning part. I'll just give you a broad understanding. I'm not taking you in through the detailed syllabus right away over here. You can have a look at it later, but to give a broad understanding, section 1, you have architecture planning and design, which focuses on basics of architectural design, including design principles, architectural graphics, understanding, also the space standards, architectural design standards, and also computer software in architecture. All this is included in the first section. Then second section you have construction management, which focuses on project management, and also the topic of estimation is also included in this particular subject. Estimation and also project management, contracts, all that is included in the second section. Then you have environmental planning and design, which focuses mainly on climate responsive design and also ecosystems, ecology, and also terms related to that, sustainable development goals, all that is included in this. Then you have fourth section, urban design, landscape conservation. From the name itself, it is very evident what it covers. It covers urban design, conservation, and landscape. Then you have planning process, which focuses on basics of urban planning, the various models, spatial models, land use models of urban planning, basic concepts related to urban planning, that is included in planning process. Then you have housing, which focuses on valuation, real estate valuation, and also housing standards. Housing is very important from numerical point of view, project management too. If you look into the past papers, last 5 years, if you see, you'll not find even one gate paper in last 5 years where you don't have a numerical from project management. You'll not find even one gate paper in last 5 years where you don't have a numerical from housing, wherein you have questions based on FAR densities or housing densities basically, or built up area calculations. So you have at least one numerical. There are instances of two numericals also. Many gate papers you will have two numericals from the housing subjects also. So numerical part is very important from project management and housing, and estimation too. Every year you will have at least one numerical from estimation subject as well. So that's about the sixth section. Then seventh section you have services and infrastructure, which focuses on services part, that is water supply, sewage treatment, plumbing, and also plumbing actually is in architecture, but sewage treatment particularly. And then the transportation, basics of transportation is included in this section. So that's a broad understanding of the syllabus of the common part. In nutshell, it covers all the basics of architecture and planning curriculum. Then as far as the B1, that is architecture, you have architecture specific subjects including history of architecture, contemporary architecture. That said, there are always questions, at least one or two questions from history and contemporary part is asked in the common part. Even this year 2025 paper also, one question from history was asked in the common part. So the bound, even though the syllabus is given, but still the boundaries are not rigid. In fact, the architecture part also includes building construction materials and structural systems. There was a 2 marks numerical on building structures part, which is core building structures calculation based question on say shear force, shear stress, bending stress. Such question was asked in the common part in the past. So you should not leave out any, because the boundaries are not rigid in the gate paper. Then the third section you have building services and sustainability, which focuses on climatology, lighting, acoustics, various building services including water supply in buildings, plumbing in buildings, all that is included in this third section. That's about the architecture part. In the planning part you have regional and settlement planning as the first section, which focuses on advanced, so the basics of planning are already covered here. So a higher level of questions of planning are included in this part in simple terms. Planning technique management, which focuses on topics like remote sensing, GIS, and also planning survey, the various types of planning survey, and planning in terms of population projection or demography or types of survey, all that is included in this section. That said, there was a 2 marks numerical from population projection PTM subject. 2 marks numerical was asked in the common part in 2025. So there are questions from these topics also asked in the common part, because the boundaries are not rigid in the exam. Lastly, you have infrastructure planning, which focuses mainly on transportation planning in the planning part, where you have advanced questions. Just to give you the level of importance of transportation subject in planning part, all the numericals of the planning part in 2025 paper were asked from one single subject of transportation, and you don't have very straightforward simple questions always. You'll have advanced questions too. So they go to the in-depth understanding of the concepts of transportation, because the subjects are same. You see, if I say urban planning is included in the common part, but only basics. Advanced part is over here. Transportation basics are included in this infrastructure subject, but advanced part is included here, because in the planning part they'll ask you questions from in-depth portion. So that's about the overall understanding of the syllabus. Now to help you develop a strategy, just to tell you the important which part basically to some tips basically in the introductory part you can remember. I already talked about this, the importance of general aptitude and these 4 parts, and the only way to do well in that portion is practice. So good and ample amount of practice is very important here. Other than that, in the common part, there are few areas which are very important from numerical point of view, like from construction management you have numerical every year, estimation part you have numerical question every year, sustainable development goals SDGs from environmental planning, at least one question is asked from that part every year. So there are some repetitive portions which you find in the common part, so you'll need to do well in that portion, and that is so that way you can boost up your score easily. So you will understand these points in the course of our preparation. Once we start with the classes, faculty will be guiding you through every subject in the introduction itself. As far as architecture part is considered, history and structures are two major subjects. They are vast also, but they have a huge weightage. And similarly in the planning part, PTM and transportation, again they are very vast, because PTM itself is very vast. It includes a lot of topics including urban economics, land economics. Basically it includes like I said, GIS, remote sensing, also survey, demography analysis, all that is included, planning legislation. So it's a vast subject with multiple topics in it, and it has a huge weightage. 10 out of 25 planning part will be for 25 marks. Of those 25 marks, 10 marks was from PTM directly in 2025 paper. Transportation, I told you, it is very important from numerical portion in the planning part. All the numericals of planning part in 2025 paper were from the subject of transportation. So you need to identify those areas which are important from exam point of view. I'll talk more on the importance of various subjects. Let me tell you one important thing, the selection. So basically it is not these pointers I already covered. Point number one in tip, you have to focus on the general aptitude and practice it, that I have told you. Second important tip in the beginning you have to remember is the importance of the common part and the topics of numerical part in the common part has the maximum weightage of 60 marks. So if you want to do well in the exam, common part should be your primary target. Many students tend to waste a lot of time in thinking about architecture or planning, what to choose, what to leave. Don't waste your time in thinking about those things in the preparation. Common part has the maximum weightage, and questions from any topic can be asked in the common part. And even at this point of time, it is strongly recommended that you don't leave out any section completely. I'm not telling you don't leave out any section. I'm telling you don't leave out any section completely. What do I mean by completely leaving? So I'll give you an example. Let us say you have decided that planning part is easy for you and you want to go with planning part. Should you leave and forget architecture part completely? That would be the wrong way to approach the gate paper, because even if you're leaving, even if your focus is planning part, you should at least cover the basics of the architecture part, every topic in it, because one, questions can be asked in the common part from any area. Secondly, there are instant like 2 marks numerical from structures was asked in common part in GATE 2024 paper. Similarly, the other way around, if you're focusing on architecture, should you leave out PTM completely because it is a very lengthy and difficult subject, or generally for architects, those who have the bachelor's in architecture, the topics of PTM, that is GIS, survey and transportation, advanced transportation planning, that can sound very new. And does that mean if your focus is on architecture, will you leave all those subjects? Absolutely no, because like I told you, this year itself a 2 marks numerical and population projection was asked in the common part. So the boundaries are not rigid, so you should not leave out anything completely. You can have an area of focus, but the other part also, at least the basics you have to cover. Why is it not advisable to leave out any part in the preparation? Three reasons. Number one, the boundaries are not rigid in the exam. I gave you a lot of examples already where the questions from one subject have been asked in the other section as per so the boundaries of the official syllabus are not very rigid in the gate paper. That's number one. Number two, the selection of B1 and B2 is to be made during the exam and not before that. You can decide it during, even if you have had architecture part in your mind, you can still select planning part and attempt it in the exam if you feel that is easy for you. So you never know which part will be easier finally in the paper for you from your preparation background. So you can have an area of interest, but don't leave out the other part completely. Accordingly, you can make a selection during the exam after checking out both the question papers. And then finally, a comprehensive preparation without leaving anything will be very helpful for you in the future requirement tests, because whichever government exam, so right now we are training students for the DDA examination. I'm sure you know, within next few months, either in the month of December or January, that is the tentative date for Delhi Development Authorities architectural assistant, planning assistant, and assistant director architecture planning. All these vacancies are already live. Let me also tell you, if someone has not applied and if you are eligible, so basically you will just need to complete your BR or B plan and you are eligible for these posts, which is a central government job. So that's one example. Whichever government job you apply for in future, GATE syllabus is like an umbrella under which you have all these exams. So it covers, it's like a superset of all these syllabus. So the preparation will be helpful for you in long run in future if you are targeting for government job. Considering all these points, you should not leave out any subject. At least I would say you should not leave out the lectures of a subject. At least attend the lectures. You can have an area of focus and prepare on that in the self study, but lectures you have to attend everything. That is important. Now, the past paper analysis, now it would be very lengthy and also unnecessary to go to the paper analysis of every year. But for this session, I've compiled the paper analysis for 2025 paper so that you have a broad understanding what has been the weightage of different subjects. So basically, uh, the pattern which you see over here in the section in the classes, in the crash course too, in our classes we do not cover the classes section by section. We don't take section at a time, rather we take one subject at a time, because in every section there can be multiple like for example in this section 4 you have two subjects. There is urban design and conservation, which is one subject, then landscape, that's a separate subject altogether. So we have a subject based approach. That is always an effective way to prepare for exam, by understanding the concept from the basic foundational level to the advanced level. For example, if you look into the subject water supply, you'll see the mention of water supply two times in the syllabus. Water supply is mentioned in section 7 of the common part. Water supply is also mentioned in section B 1.3 also. So the same subject is written multiple times. Urban planning, some part is over here, some is over here. So we have a subject wise approach rather than a section based approach, and that is always the right way to prepare from our past experience too. So I have compiled a subject wise analysis over here, not a section wise analysis of the marks distribution. Uh, in 2025 paper, if you have selected architecture part along with the common part, then the weightage distribution was of this manner. You see the peaks, the subjects with maximum weightage. There were 11 marks from the architecture, planning and design. This is basically section 1 of the common part. The reason why it is having higher weightage is not because it is a very important subject, and it is not always that way. 2025 the weightage has been high, but it doesn't mean every year you'll have a huge mark from section 1. That's number 1. Number 2, it includes topics like architectural standards. Now in the classes we don't study design standards as a separate subject, because we study the standards of individual subjects individually. Like for example, the standards of NBC of fire safety, we study that in fire safety subject. The standards of elevators, escalators, we study that in elevator, escalator subject. The standards of housing and residential design, that was focused in the housing subject. So every subject we will cover the relevant standards from the National Building Code. So that's the right way again to prepare. So but in the official syllabus, standards of National Building Code and universal design, that is mentioned in this part. However, that doesn't mean it is just one. So because of these reasons, it might seem inflated, that the actual weightage is not so huge for that first section. It includes basically a lot of subjects, including computer applications in architecture, which could be basic CAD or BIM based questions. So other than that, it includes topics of standards like I told you. It also includes the topic of architectural graphics and also architectural design principles. All that is included in this section, so because of which the weightage might look inflated. So if you ignore that, other than that, for those who have attended architecture part, important subjects have been history for sure with 8 marks of weightage, and then also urban design happened to be an important subject in 2025 paper, but the weightage is not always 8 marks. Urban design generally has a weightage of around 4 to 6 marks, but it was higher last year. There was no question from elevator escalator at all. So the weightage for any subject is not fixed. Does this mean you will leave elevator escalator because there is no question in the question paper of 2025? Absolutely no. There are instances where 4 marks of questions have been asked from elevators, escalators only for that, from that small subject. So you should not leave out any subject. But you see in architecture part, the distribution is more or less even. You don't see huge peaks as such, exception for one or two. Structures has been important. So I told you already, structures, history are generally important subjects in the architecture part for those who are attempting the architecture part. Urban design is an exception for this year, and section 1 I told you that is an inflated number, so you can leave that aside. With those exceptions, so once you address those peaks, the distribution is more or less uniform in every subject. Every subject has generally around 2, 1, 2, 3 or 4 marks. So you see that range generally in terms of weightage, but in terms of numerical areas you can pinpoint. What are those numerical areas? I told you you'll have a numerical from estimation valuation, 6 marks of weightage, of which 2 are numericals actually. You'll have a numerical every year from project management. You'll have a numerical from housing every year in the common part. So these are the numericals of common part which are very important. Numericals in the architecture part are generally focused on structures only. There were 4 numericals in 2025 paper in the architecture part. 2 numericals were from structures, 1 numerical was from lighting and 1 was from acoustics. These were the numerical areas. It's always easy to score well in the numerical part if you learn the basics, because theoretical part has no boundary at all. Numerical part you can still draw a boundary and understand the basics to do well in the examination. So that's the reason. Other than, if you look into the planning part, I told you there are pros and cons in both. In the planning part, the main issue would be some subjects, there are less number of subjects, but the weightage of few subjects will be so vast, and also you'll need to go into the in-depth understanding of each subject. PTM had the maximum weightage of any subject with 12 marks of weightage in the 2025 paper for planning part. PTM is a planning subject, it is only for planning part, but 2 marks of question were asked in the common part from PTM subject. So even if you're selecting architecture part, there were 2 marks of weightage for PTM, so you should not leave out any subject. So instead of architecture, if you have attempted planning part in 2025 paper, you see the peaks again. PTM is one peak you find. You find a peak in urban planning as well, which has a weightage of 10 marks. Then peak in transportation. I already told you transportation is very important, particularly from numerical part. Urban planning had a high weightage. Other than that, there are questions from those subjects of architecture part as well. Like there was one question from building materials, which is an architecture part subject. There was also a question from the subject of say uh, the architecture parts are history of architecture. There was one question from that subject as well. So there are questions from architecture portion topics too, like you can see in the even structures too. Structures is a subject I told you in the architecture part, 3 marks of weightage from it. So you can right away point out to 4 marks, 4 marks in the planning part, in the common part, which have been asked from the architecture part syllabus. So that's the reason, should not leave out. Identify the important areas, see what is strong area for you, focus on that, but don't leave out anything else, don't leave out any other part completely. So that's the suggestion with respect to the paper analysis. Those are some key takeaways from the paper analysis. Furthermore, for resources for your preparation other than the classes, you can download a KP Gate classes mobile app. You will find this particular logo as the display on the Play Store, on even on iOS devices also. Once you download the app, you can go to the store tab, you'll find a course with this name, Gate AR Essentials and Free Resources. If you're able to access this particular course, you'll find a lot of free resources for your preparation also. So irrespective of how you're preparing, even if you're joining into the classes or even if you're relying mainly on your self preparation till now, you can always make use of the free resources, which include standard documents and other reference documents which are available for free on the app. You can use that for your reference of your preparation. So that's about it. I think other than that, if I talk about the resources for your preparation, obviously classes. So in terms of priority, what should be your how should you prepare for the exam? Your priority number one, most important, would always be the live classes. So if you're starting your preparation right now, and if you ask me what is the best strategy given the amount of time, if you want to get into top 25 rank, what should be the best approach? So if you are making use of all these resources effectively, you can be assured that you will for sure get a very good rank, a double digit rank for sure. So what is that approach which will get you there? Number one, your focus should always be on the live online classes where you make your own running notes. It's not like watching a video. You should always write down the pointers. Because this was an introductory no class, there is nothing to write down as such, but in the lectures You need to maintain a proper running notes of every concept being discussed in the class. So live online classes with your notes. Notes not written by someone, it should always be your own handwritten notes which you revise from. The reason is, when you revise later on, if you read one sentence from your handwritten notes, you will recall probably 5 or 6 more sentences which the faculty has taught you in the lecture when you were writing that sentence, when you were writing that key point. So writing a proper running notes is very important. I always also recommend students a very important tip which I personally found very useful when I was also studying, or this has helped a lot of students from feedback after discussions. I've seen many students come back to me with this feedback that it was very helpful for them. Let me tell you right away in the beginning, when you make your handwritten notes in a book, let us say you made some handwritten notes during the lecture. Why do we make a handwritten note? So that you revise from it later on. When you revise from this notes later on, before, say, after 3 months of your preparation, after 4 months of your preparation, when you're left out with one more month for the examination, that last 1 month you should focus on revising from your notes. When you revise any topic, you need not wait for revision. Like for example, let us say you started with one subject right now, you completed this subject. Later on you have moved on to the next subject. There are 10 subjects you have already completed. For your information, there are a total of 24 subjects you have to complete by the end. So in the crash course, we ensure that all the 24 subjects are taught to you. So once you're done with 10 subjects, you can start revising your first subject again. So when you revise, always when you read your notes, you can write some keywords in the margin itself. In your notes, you can write down what are the key concepts in this particular paper. So when you revise your notes, let us say you found out a term, technical term which is important, you can highlight it, you can write it in the margin, so that later on when you revise, just by looking into the keywords, you can actually recall everything about that page. So this doesn't happen if you take notes from someone of your class. Let us say you have a friend, you're asking, okay, give me your notes, I will prepare from it. You will understand things, but the link will not be created. So every word should have a backstory. Every word, every keyword you mention should have a link to the other concepts you study. So this network, if you develop your knowledge in the form of this hierarchical network, in the examination it will be very useful. It will help you recall the concepts and answer the questions easily, because it's not an exam where it's not like a school exam where you will read something and you'll get the exact same thing in the exam. They'll ask you questions from any corner. So you'll need to have, when you develop such a network of knowledge, you can easily create backlinks and answer questions in the theoretical part. Mainly it will be very helpful. So live online classes with the notes should always be your primary target number one. Once you're done with that, then the second thing would be your study material. For every subject, you will have practice questions, practice sheets shared with you for your homework, practice sheets, and also tests. There are section wise tests for every topic which are allocated for you. So all this is included in the crash course. You'll have the set of 10 books along with in cards delivered to you if you're opting for the hard copy study material. So you have to read the study material of that particular subject and then do the practice sheets and test series. That should be your next focus. And finally, towards the end, you can attempt the mock test, which are 3-hour examination, just like the gate exam. So all these resources will be accessible for you, along with all these books, including all the topics of the syllabus, including in cards, which will be helpful for you to remember or memorize things like design standards. I told you design standards is an important part. At least 2 marks of question is asked from that portion. Planners and their theories, architects and their works, books and their authors. 2 marks from books and their authors. Almost every year you find it. Even this year, 2025 paper also, books and their authors, 2 marks of match the following question was asked in the common part from it. So all these content, all these parts will be covered under in cards, which you can use as a tool to memorize things. And study material, finally, you'll also have within the study material, you also have embedded QR codes, which are, so the books itself are designed as smart learning tools where you can scan the QR code and learn the concept. If it is a difficult concept, it will redirect to you to a video. So you'll find such QR codes embedded into the book also for your reference. Along with the classes, you can make use of all these resources to ensure that you understand the basics concepts clearly. And if I talk about the result, like I already told you, 2025 we had 10 students in top 20. And with that note, I would strongly wish to see someone of you also on this board when I take a similar session in future. So Any further questions you have, you can ask me. That's all from my end as an introduction for this crash course. I hope I've covered the basics of where to begin, how to begin, and where to reach. I think that broad timeline and concepts are clear. Any questions you have, you can put it into the chat. I'll be happy to respond to your queries.
KP classes, dedicated to excellence.